Hey guys, so before we starting this video, I just want to make sure that you know this is a huge spoiler between Season 2 to Season 4. So if you haven't watched through that, please do before jumping into this video, because this is gonna be a huge spoiler. So, letting you know. Alright, let's begin. First of all, I want to say hello and welcome back. Now I know I don't make a lot of YouTube content, but this will probably making up for it, because this is the most interesting theory I have. We're gonna talk about RWBY, Volume 3, Chapter 12, End of the Beginning, because there is one thing that's always been mind-boggling me. The death of Pyrrha. Now I know I'm probably gonna make a few reminding for people who have watched the show, and believe me, this is painful. But bear with me, because today you're gonna learn a story from Cinder's side. A side that you probably didn't pay attention to. So let's do it! On to the video! Cinder is probably the hottest and dangerous villain at the same time. Well, that pun aside, let's just jump into the video. In Chapter 12, Volume 3, we learn that Pyrrha fight Cinder, only to then that Pyrrha die in the Cinder's hand. But these scenes go without saying, but this is probably the most heartbreaking moment we see Pyrrha die. There is many fans out there who still speculating to this day, I believe, that Pyrrha might be alive. Even though that the creator said that she is indeed dead. She will never come back alive. And believe me, I believe Rooster Teeth when they say this. However, I do also believe that she didn't die, but suffer another fate that probably is even worse than death. Curious? Then allow me to explain. Let's puzzle things together. There's a few questions we need to ask before we go into the theory. First of all, what truly happened here? Why didn't she bleed after getting shot by an arrow? And why didn't Cinder died after this? What? A few questions that needs to be answered, and that's what this video is all about. So what really happened? Allow me to explain. Fans to this day believe that Pyrrha might be truly alive, the way she disappeared. But the creator indeed said that she is dead. So why is there really a point in making a theory? Because yes, there is a reason, because Pyrrha didn't die. She suffered another fate, I believe. Well, she did die, but not in the way you probably think. Because allow me to explain. If she didn't die here, what do I truly believe? That's what we're going to a little bit later, but for now, hang on to me. In Volume 2, Chapter 5, we'll learn that after Mercury fighting against Pyrrha, Cinder learns about how her semblance work. That the fact that she can manipulate, magnetism. There are so many warriors out there. Hunters and huntresses have something called semblance, a power that is very unique to them. However, it doesn't stop for being similar to one another a few once in a while. After she learns about this, she finds Pyrrha very, very interested. And then this scene goes off.
Her opponent's at a disadvantage.
People assume she's fated for victory, when she's really taken fate into her own hands. Interesting. Add her to the list.
That's not the beginning. That list is truly the most interesting. Remember the list a little bit later. This is where this goes. After Cinder says that, she's putting Pyrrha on the list. But the list isn't truly for people she wants to kill. As a matter of fact, it's a little bit another reason for that. But we're gonna touch that. But there is one more thing that she said that truly is amazing. Or fascinating in this case, and that was this.
It's not about overpowering the enemy. It's about taking away what power they have. And we will. In time.
It might seem like out of context first, like it really doesn't, says a lot. But you would be surprised that this sentence alone is a key element to what truly happened in the season 3 finale. So I'm just gonna say season because volume is harder to remember, so stick with me. But remember, this sentence is what we're gonna work with, okay? Good. We learn also from chapter 7, beginning of the end, we learn that Cinder's past, she didn't have this fire ability. Well, she did, but it was used in another way. Or that indeed she doesn't have it, I don't remember. Anyway, she didn't have the same power that she had in season 1. So, how did she get this power? Well, she got the power after absorbing half of the Fall Maid's power. Fall Maid is one of the 4 maids. Fall, winter, spring, summer. They said that they have magical abilities that's so powerful that if the world knew about it, it would be chaotic. So you know that this is gonna be a huge thing, right? After Cinder steals half of her ability, Crows shows up and then managed to get Cinder and the rest of her friend away from there. So what really happened here? Well, she absorbed half of her power. That's what happened. We learned that the Fall Maid is truly damaged after the observation. Not from the battle, but the observation. Truly horrifying. In chapter 6, season 3, we'll learn how the maid's power works. Well, there's a few rules here. And these are the most interesting rules. So I'm gonna just, show you the clip.
At first, the only thing that was certain was that the powers were specifically passed on to young women. But as time went on, it was discovered that the selection process was much more intimate.
Interesting, and here's clip 2.
As we understand it now, when a maiden dies, the one who is in her final thoughts is the first candidate to inherit her power.
This power goes to the last girl they fought. So here is the thing. Why would this be a big deal? Well, here's the thing. If Cinder made a huge impression on the Fall of Maiden, then clearly she would be traumatized. So in that point, that the rest of her power would indeed go to her. So why would she try to absorb the rest of the power, instead of just making a traumatized effect so that she got the power? In short, because Cinder isn't exactly that young. Allow me to explain. One of the few rules was the power goes to young peoples, like young women. Pyrrha is only 17, which will make her the candidate. If we're gonna believe what the internet's saying, Cinder is between early 20s, between to 30. So that's not exactly young for, young warriors to develop their power. In anything, that's a thing. So indeed, for her to get this power, she have to take them. We can also see that clearly at the episode 11. Let's remember all these scenes I'm gonna say now. In chapter 11 on season 3, we see clearly that after Pyrrha got some of the power from Maiden, it truly just disappeared. After Cinder shot an arrow and kills the maid and taking the rest of her ability of the Fall of Maid power, she dies. Alright? But there is a thing here that you're always gonna look upon later. And then to the final episode, the volume 3 chapter 12, when Cinder fought against Pyrrha. She died. But there's a few things that you need to see here. Can you see what these 3 scenes has in common? That these 3 scenes has one particular thing in common. After the fight, none of them are bleeding. Interesting, I might say, because the show isn't afraid of showing some sort of blood. Heck, I even may be hearing you say, but the season 1 and season 2 didn't have blood. What are you talking about? Whoa, calm down and let me explain. Yes, indeed, season 1 didn't show that much blood. However, it doesn't mean that the blood wasn't introduced as early as the trailer. Curious? Follow me. We can clearly, let's use Schnee as an example here. We can clearly see in Schnee's trailer, once she is fighting the knight, there is a scene where she doesn't have a scar on her eye. And after getting hit by the blade from that giant armor thing, I'm not sure what to call it, she got a huge cut in her eye, which resulted her to bleed. So if the bleeding are introduced as early as Schnee's trailer, why aren't these people bleeding? That's the most interesting thing, and that's what we truly are gonna tell you right now. Are you ready? In the final episode of Season 3, Pyrrha didn't truly die. Well, I mean, she died, but she didn't die. Interesting, allow me to explain. Because Cinder absorbed Pyrrha. What? Okay, you probably now are gonna ask a few questions. How is that possible? Why did she absorb? What does that make me think that Cinder absorbed Pyrrha? Well, allow me to explain. Remember to chapter 5 in season 2 that I find interesting. Listen to this sentence one more time.
It's not about overpowering the enemy. It's about taking away what power they have. And we will. In time.
She wants to take everything away. It's not about how powerful you are, it's about to take everything that they have. Which in Cinder's case means that she would steal her power. How this work? Allow me to explain. Semblance is something everybody have. Well, maybe not everybody, but there's a thing many warriors have. However, it doesn't mean that even though there are a few things that only work for them, it doesn't mean that there are a few things that's similar to one another. For example, in this case, Yang and Adam, they both have the ability to pretty much defeat anything but one blow. The only difference is that Yang beats them with a punch and Adam takes them with a cut. You want more to it? What about Emerald and Neo? They're pretty much similar. They make an illusion. The only difference is one make illusion in other people's mind, while the other make an illusion in front of their eye, right there and then. And then you have the most interesting thing that I find. And then you might have also Blake and Sun. Sure, one of them using more of a shadow thing while the other is light, but they can both make clones of their self. So you're probably wondering where this is going. We learned that early at the volume 3 or season 3. That's why she has a power that her families can summon summoning the warriors, or in this case, Grimms, anything that they pretty much defeated, and summon them to their side. This is very interesting because, as I already stated, there might be a few semblances that are one another similar. Cinderfall and the Winter Schnee's ability is pretty much the same, but it's different outcome. They both have the same condition. They need to defeat the enemy. Once the Schnee defeats the enemy, they can summon it and use it for their side. What I truly believe is Cinder have to defeat the warrior for then taking their abilities away. Interesting? I'll allow me to continue on if you don't mind. We can clearly see that this is the scene I am talking. In this scene, Cinder shots an arrow in the chest. She isn't bleeding, which is quite few things that annoyed me. And then allow me to explain human bodies, how this is work. Where the Pyrrha was shooting was in the chest area, but it didn't hit the lung or the heart, which means it only hit the muscle. Which in case of Pyrrha, she would have survived it. Sure, she would be paralyzed, but she would still be alive. But what happened here is one thing. Cinder absorbed Pyrrha, mind and power. Why do I believe this? After, if you remember everything I've told up to now, there is one more thing I want to state. The nuclear explosion, or maybe not the nuclear explosion, but the power of power from RWBY. After this, we learned that the dragon was frozen or something like that. But in the Volume 4, Chapter 1, we see Cinder one more time, but this time she is heavily battle damaged. Would indicate one thing. If she didn't absorb Pyrrha, or the Fall Maid's power, she would be dead. RWBY would have killed her. Because of the damage she took, and the fact that she can't speak properly. But it's not only that. After she absorbed Pyrrha's power, her attitude has changed. She has been more calmer person than she was, or more relaxed. Curious. So why do I think this is an observation? Because Cinder and Pyrrha is now fused. They're the one and the same person. Because Rooster Teeth is not afraid for foreshadowing or heavily inspired by other things. Allow me to explain where I truly believe this is coming from. If you know Yang's main theme is called I Burn. And in one of the texts, it's stated that she is a Super Saiyan. If you know what a Super Saiyan is, you know where Dragon Ball comes from. The fact that they mentioned Super Saiyan, a thing that was only shown in Dragon Ball, or originally from Dragon Ball, then I wouldn't be surprised to take more reference from the show. Beside the point that Rooster Teeth is good for foreshadowing things, allow me to tell you how this works. Alright? How Cinder absorbed Pyrrha and, Falls Maid, they both had one thing in common. Cinder had to make some sort of physical contact with him, either with weapon or being there. You see, in the episode of Dragon Ball Z, in Frieza's saga, there's one episode where Piccolo meets Nail after Nail was heavily defeated by Frieza. He places his hand on the chest of Nail and absorbs him, or fused with him. They both were fused. But Piccolo remained to be Piccolo. However, after the observation, he got power from Nail, which means that he was much more stronger and got Nail's thoughts and everything from his memories that happened. So that's what happened in Dragon Ball. And that's what I truly believe happens here in the last episode of RWBY in Volume 3. Cinder absorbed or fused with Nico, Pyrrha, so that she not only got her power, but the last memory of her. So what I'm saying now is that before or later, now Cinder has not only the power of the maid, but she also has the power of magnetism. In other words, she steals Pyrrha and Nico's power and memories. She fused with Pyrrha and Nico's. Are you still not convinced? Allow me to explain a few things, one final thing why I do believe this. After the explosion of RWBY, we can clearly see in episode 1 in season 4, Cinder, but she has been damaged. She can't speak properly and one of her eyes covered in some sort of a mask, and we can clearly see some scars here. Why do I believe? Well, the fact is, here's the thing. If Cinder didn't absorb the Fall of Maiden or Pyrrha Nico, that last scene from RWBY would killed her. Because of the reason, she is now much stronger than she was before. And remember, she is now much calmer person. Beside a few angry faces that's been shown in Volume 4, she is now a much more, careful person that she was from Volume 1 to Volume 3. Her attitude changed, and that's another thing that happened in Dragon Ball. Once Piccolo fused with the other Namekians, Kami and Nail, his attitude changed. And the same thing happens to Cinder. After she absorbed Pyrrha, her attitude has changed. So what really happened in this scene? Pyrrha didn't die, but Cinder fused her body with Pyrrha's. She absorbed her and stole everything away from her. And that's the theory. Cinder and Pyrrha are the one and the same person now. And now Cinder has not only the power of the Falls of Maid, but the power to magnetism as well as also being absorption. So she have now the ability to absorb people. That would explain after fighting Falls of Maid and Pyrrha that they don't bleed after these attacks. They're not bleeding, they're being absorbed. And that's what truly is happening here. Cinder absorbed Pyrrha and Nikos. There you go, people. That was my theory on Cinder Fall. On how Pyrrha didn't die but was absorbed. This was just a theory. So if you disagree, agree, let me know.